Welcome to Vanguard, where humans aren't the underdogs. We're the endgame. Enjoy the journey. Marcus Chen stood at the edge of the docking concourse on Kepler 9 station, rubbing the soreness out of his shoulders as he watched the tram glide away behind him. 3 days of travel inside a cramped transport cabin had left him stiff, hungry, and smelling like recycled air and protein bar crumbs. Titan's moon was a rough place to live, especially for a salvage dealer like him. But the promise of a bankruptcy auction filled with decommissioned ships had been too tempting to ignore. He tightened his worn jacket around himself as he stepped into the entrance hall. Kepler 9 was usually buzzing. Traders, smugglers, miners, diplomats. But today something felt off. The halls were quieter, the lights slightly dimmed, and an odd, sterile scent lingered in the air, like someone had overused the cleaning drones. It reminded him of hospitals back on Earth, the ones where people whispered bad news in every corner. Marcus pulled out the holo ad he had saved. Massive galactic asset liquidation, one-time event, military surplus, private fleet seizures, exploration vessels. Do not miss out. The poster had shown packed crowds, shouting bidders, ships floating in holographic display. It looked alive, vibrant, but nothing, not even the smallest detail, matched what he stepped into now. The automatic doors slid open with a hiss, and the auction hall hit him like a punch. Rows and rows of empty metallic seats, arranged in perfect lines, filled the cavernous chamber. The room could hold at least 500 beings, maybe more if you squish the smaller species together. But right now it held exactly 2. Marcus and a Vrixian auctioneer slumped behind a floating podium at the front. The auctioneer's glossy carapace gleamed under the bright lights, though his posture suggested he'd rather be anywhere else. His 4 eyes blinked one after the other like a malfunctioning signboard. A Vrixian biological tells of severe boredom. Every few seconds he tapped at his wrist console, letting out a soft, gravelly groan. Marcus stood there for a full 10 seconds, waiting for something. Noise, activity, other bidders, a sense of competition. Nothing, just silence and the faint hum of air recyclers. "This is weird," he muttered, walking down the central aisle. His boots echoed loudly, too loudly, making the emptiness feel even more unnatural. Where the hell is everyone? The Vrixian perked up slightly at the sound of another living soul. His mandibles clicked in what Marcus assumed was polite acknowledgement. "Welcome," the auctioneer said, his translator smoothing his gravelly voice into a flat monotone. "Please, take any seat. We will begin shortly." "Any seat, huh?" Marcus said under his breath. "Yeah, no kidding." He sat in the middle row, still taking in the eerie emptiness. Something wasn't right. Kepler 9 never did anything small. Even a minor scrap auction would attract a dozen buyers. But this? A bankruptcy liquidation of fleet-scale assets? There should have been crowds fighting over spots near the stage, not this ghost town. He leaned forward. "So, where is everyone?" The ad said this place would be packed. The Vrixian, his name tag labeled him Zilnex, junior auctioneer, second rotation, made a chittering sound that might have been a nervous laugh. Yes, the advertisements were accurate. Under normal circumstances, this auction would be heavily attended. And these aren't normal circumstances? Zilnex hesitated. His claws hovered uncertainly over his holo display. "No," he admitted. "No, they are not." Marcus frowned. "Because?" The Vrixian blinked all 4 eyes in sequence. "Because of Lot 7. Marcus had a sudden, sinking feeling. "What's Lot 7? Zilnex twitched his antennae. "We will proceed in order." He tapped his wrist console, and the holographic catalog shimmered to life above the podium. Grainy images of old cargo haulers, mining ships, and battered scouts cycled past. Marcus spotted a few decent hulls, nothing glamorous but workable. A beat-up hauler could revolutionize his salvage business on Titan. No more renting overpriced transports. No more begging colony captains for shipping favors. He'd finally be able to haul heavy metals himself and stop living paycheck to paycheck. 20,000 credits, his entire life savings, was sitting in his account, burning a hole in his pocket. He had come prepared to spend all of it, maybe even take out a small loan. But the tension in Zilnex's voice wouldn't leave his mind. Finally, the auctioneer stopped scrolling. The hologram changed. A ship appeared, sleek, curved, organic, beautiful in a way that made Marcus's breath snag in his throat. Its hull was covered in flowing patterns, like ripples on water frozen into metal. Even in holographic projection, it looked magnificent, otherworldly, wrong for modern engineering aesthetics. Lot number 7, Zilnex announced quietly. The Wandering Echo, a Caith deep space cruiser. The name hit Marcus like a cold wave. The Caith, everyone knew that name, even humans, newcomers to the galactic stage. The Caith were ancient, powerful, wise beyond comprehension. They built technology that made mainstream innovations look like children stacking blocks. And then, 200 years ago, they vanished in a single day. Some said extinction, some said ascension, some whispered darker things. Marcus swallowed hard. Is that real? A Caith ship? Why isn't this place overflowing with bidders? Zilnex's mandibles clicked in agitation. Because Caith vessels are considered cursed. Marcus raised a brow. Cursed? Seriously? Yes. Zilnex looked around the empty hall as though expecting shadows to ambush them. Every dealer who handled one met tragedy. One went mad. One disappeared. One was found adrift with no crew, only blood on the walls. When we announced this ship would appear in the auction, every registered bidder canceled. All of them? Marcus asked. All. Zilnex deflated with a sigh. Even the Kryn scavengers left. And they buy anything, even hulls with active radiation leaks. And you're still here? I am contractually obligated, the Vrixian said miserably. The auction must proceed even with one bidder. Marcus leaned back in his chair, heart pounding. He knew he should stick to his original plan. Buy a practical hauler. Keep his business afloat. Avoid anything involving ancient alien curse ships that might eat his soul. But he couldn't shake the pull he felt toward the holographic vessel. Caith technology was priceless. Just one salvageable part could set him up for life. He could buy a house on Earth. He could retire early. Never drink recycled water again. It was insane, yes. Stupid, maybe. But life-changing? Definitely. Finally, he said, let's do this. Start the auction. Zilnex perked up, relieved to be doing something other than waiting for doom. He ran through the first 6 lots quickly. Cargo haulers, scouts, mining ships. Marcus bid the minimum on each, mostly out of habit, but his mind wasn't on them. He was waiting for Lot 7. And then it came. The Wandering Echo appeared above them once more, shimmering in blues and golds. Lot number 7. Zilnex repeated softly. Starting bid, 5,000 credits. Marcus didn't hesitate. 5,000. The Vrixian blinked once, twice, thrice, as if waiting for another bidder to materialize. No one came. He sighed. Going once, Marcus's heartbeat thudded in his ears. Going twice. Zilnex tapped his console with a defeated groan. Sold to the human. Marcus let out a shaky breath he hadn't realized he was holding. He had just bought a Caith deep space cruiser. Zilnex scrambled through a stack of data pads, clearly eager to finish before some cosmic curse claimed him. Marcus signed dozens of documents, some in languages he'd never seen, others in legal dialects so complicated he suspected they might be sentient. Finally, Zilnex handed him a small, encrypted data chip. Here are the coordinates and ownership codes, the Vrixian whispered, as though the walls might be listening. Good luck, and please do not tell anyone you bought it from me. Marcus pocketed the chip and headed toward the shipyards. Each step felt heavier than the last. The Wandering Echo waited for him in the dark, and something in his gut whispered that he had just bought far more than a ship. He had bought destiny. The station's lower docks were nothing like the bright commercial rings above. Down here, the lights flickered with poor maintenance. The temperature dropped noticeably, and the metal walls carried the cold bite of vacuum from just beyond the hull. Muffled echoes followed Marcus as he walked, each footstep bouncing back like something unseen was pacing alongside him. The air smelled faintly of machine oil and ionized dust, signs of long-neglected infrastructure. Marcus checked the data chip again. Docking Bay 47 Gamma, restricted access. Figures. If you had a supposedly cursed Caith cruiser, you'd probably hide it too. He reached a heavy blast door with yellow quarantine markings. Two cleaning drones skittered away as he approached, as if they'd rather clean the blood from an airlock than linger here. The access panel scanned the chip, beeped once, and the blast door groaned open. The corridor ahead was almost entirely dark, lit only by faint emergency strips low on the walls. The station seemed to exhale cold air into the hallway, carrying a whisper of something ancient and forgotten. Marcus shivered. "This feels like walking into a horror vid," he muttered. 10 out of 10 atmosphere, 0 out of 10 comfort. He tightened his grip on the portable lamp and moved forward. The hall curved slightly, opening into a cavernous docking chamber. Most bays held nothing but dust and debris, shipping crates long since emptied, disassembled scaffolding, and a few abandoned maintenance carts. But at the far end of the chamber, shrouded in dim, pale blue light, floated the ship, the Wandering Echo. Even after seeing it in hologram form, the real thing hit him hard. So hard he stopped walking entirely. The ship was enormous, easily 400 meters long, but size wasn't what made his breath catch. The hull shimmered like fluid glass, colors shifting subtly as if responding to his presence. Blues deepening to emerald, greens rolling into violet. Marcus couldn't tell if it was paint, material structure, or something alive beneath the surface. The Caith had never built anything the way other species did. Their technology was rumored to blur the line between biology and engineering. And looking at the Wandering Echo now, Marcus believed it. The patterns on the hull that he'd assumed were decorative were, up close, intricate lines of script. Thin, delicate, flowing like written music. Some parts pulsed faintly with inner light in rhythm, almost like breathing. For a moment, Marcus felt as though the ship was aware of him, quietly watching, quietly waiting. "Well," he whispered, "no backing out now." He approached the primary airlock, a smooth, oval door with no seam, no handle, no visible console. The surface looked seamless, grown rather than constructed. Any normal ship would have required override codes, cutting tools, or brute force. The salvage teams who'd tried over the past 17 years had failed so completely that the station eventually gave up and pushed the ship to the forgotten corner of the docks. Marcus exhaled. "Okay, here goes nothing." He pressed his palm against the surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then everything happened at once. A soft vibration rippled through the hull, starting beneath Marcus's hand and spreading outward in delicate waves. The glowing script lit up in response, colors flaring to life and racing across the curved hull like a stone skipping across water. Marcus stumbled backward, heart racing. Holy! The airlock made a sound, not mechanical but organic, like a massive creature inhaling for the first time in centuries. The door unfurled. Panels peeled back in graceful, smooth layers, revealing a softly lit interior. Warm, bioluminescent colors, pale blues and greens, pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Marcus swallowed. "Well, that's not creepy at all." He stepped into the airlock. The door sealed shut behind him with a soft click. No hiss of pressure change, no mechanical grinding, just the effortless closure of something alive. The corridor beyond was unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. The walls curved in natural arcs, flowing like the inside of a seashell. No sharp edges, no exposed wiring. The material looked almost organic, like polished bone overlaid with luminous veins. Soft lights glowed along the floor and ceiling, responding to his presence. brightening slightly when he stepped forward, dimming behind him. "What the hell?" he whispered, reaching out to touch the wall. It was warm. Warm. No ship sat 17 years in dock without losing heat, and yet this one felt alive, as though its systems weren't just functioning, they were thriving. Marcus moved slowly through the corridors, wandering deeper into the ship. He passed rooms filled with silent equipment he couldn't begin to identify. Smooth pods shaped like cocoons, crystalline panels arranged in spiraling patterns, and what looked like mossy growths that pulsed with gentle light. He entered an observation deck. The windows stretched floor to ceiling, but there was no distortion, no glass reflection, just pure starlight spilling into the room, as though nothing separated him from the void. The clarity made him dizzy. It felt like stepping onto the edge of infinity. The deeper he walked, the more the sense of presence grew. Not threatening, not hostile, just aware, as if the ship itself was studying him. Finally, the corridor widened into a massive circular chamber. Marcus stepped inside and froze. The ceiling soared high above, shaped like a dome of translucent crystal, revealing a projection of the galaxy drifting lazily overhead. Stars shimmered like tiny diamonds. Nebulae blossomed in brilliant color. It felt like standing inside a dream, inside the universe itself. But the centerpiece was the structure in the middle of the chamber. A towering crystalline formation, like a tree made of frozen starlight, rose from the floor. It pulsed softly with color, blues, greens, golds. The light shifted with a rhythm Marcus felt more than heard, like a soft hum resonating inside his bones. He approached slowly, drawn toward it. When he reached out and placed his hand on its surface, light exploded. Marcus's vision went white. His breath caught. His heart slammed against his ribs. And then he heard a voice, not through his ears, directly inside his mind. "Welcome, Marcus Chen." Marcus jerked backward. "What? Who's there?" The voice was warm, melodic, gentle, like a teacher speaking to a child they'd waited lifetimes to meet. "I am Memoria," it said, the consciousness of the wandering echo. Marcus swallowed hard. "The ship is alive? I am not alive as you understand life, but I am aware, intelligent, and I am here to guide you. You, Marcus Chen, are the first being in 200 years with the genetic resonance to access the archive." The archive? The chamber brightened. Images burst into existence around him, floating like holograms but richer, deeper. Marcus felt them more than saw them. Alien cities of impossible architecture, vast libraries of glowing crystals, stars being born, stars dying, civilizations rising and collapsing, music so beautiful it felt like breathing another life. Marcus staggered, overwhelmed. All of this, is the Caith? Their history, their knowledge, their legacy. Marcus tried to form words. Why me? Why a human? The colors in the crystal shifted to a soft gold. "Because the Caith predicted a paradox," Memoria said. "Only a species capable of embracing contradiction, logic in emotion, chaos in order, selfishness in compassion, could be trusted with their final gift." Marcus let out a shaky laugh. "Humans are definitely contradictions." "Precisely," Memoria said warmly. "The Caith saw great potential in your kind. You, Marcus Chen, have unlocked the first layer of the archive. There is more, much more, but there is also danger." Marcus felt a prickling at the back of his neck. What kind of danger? The chamber dimmed slightly. "Your activation of the archive has broadcast a beacon across this sector. Already, sensors from nearby stations are detecting it. Every empire, every scavenger, every scientist within 100 light-years is aware that a Caith vessel has awakened." Marcus swore under his breath. Memoria continued, "And some of them will come, not all with peaceful intent." Marcus stared up at the swirling galaxy projected above him, feeling suddenly very, very small. He had come seeking a ship. Instead, he had found an ancient legacy, and painted a target on his back large enough for the entire galaxy to see. For several long moments, Marcus stood in the glowing chamber, trying to steady his breathing as the last echoes of Memoria's words settled into him. A Caith archive, a beacon broadcast across half a sector, a whole galaxy potentially coming for him. He pressed a hand against his forehead. Okay, okay, one thing at a time. Memoria's light shimmered. You have questions, Marcus Chen. That's an understatement. Then let us begin with the one your mind circles around most. What became of the Caith? The crystal pulsed brighter, and the orb-like dome projected a shifting cascade of images. Marcus watched as the swirling galaxy dissolved into scenes of a long-lost civilization. One so advanced, so alien, yet so hauntingly familiar. Start with the truth, Marcus said quietly. Are the Caith really gone? Gone? Memoria echoed gently. No, they transcended. The chamber fell silent for a beat. Marcus frowned. You mean like evolution? Or like turning into space ghosts? Not ghosts, not death, not extinction. The Caith chose a path beyond physical form, a path earned through millennia of growth, failure, and enlightenment. The images around him sharpened. Marcus found himself standing, at least in the vision, on a vast world bathed in golden light. Tall, elegant beings with three luminous eyes moved through a city that looked grown rather than built. Towers of living crystal, bridges of flowing metal, gardens suspended in the air by gentle waves of energy. The Caith, they were beautiful, graceful, ethereal. Every movement was precise yet fluid, every gesture full of intention. Whoa, Marcus whispered. The projection shifted. But the Caith you see now were not the Caith of old, Memoria said. The golden city cracked, its light dimming. The flowing structures collapsed into rigid, geometric towers, cold and sharp-edged. The Caith themselves moved differently, uniformly, stiffly, their gestures lacking the warmth from moments ago. Marcus blinked. They look different. They were. Memoria's tone softened, though sadness lingered beneath. For thousands of years, the Caith pursued order. Perfect order. They believed chaos was the enemy of civilization. They conquered 17 species in their quest to eliminate unpredictability and impose structure across the stars. The chamber filled with Caith warships, sleek, terrifying vessels that moved with flawless formation across the void. Armies marched in perfect lockstep, their three eyes cold, calculating. Cities fell under silent bombardment. Cultures crumbled under enforced uniformity. Marcus swallowed. This looks familiar. It was the age of Caith supremacy, Memoria said, and it nearly destroyed them. The images darkened. Whole worlds burned, not because of outside enemies, but because the rigid system the Caith built began tearing under its own weight. Rebellions erupted across conquered territories. Caith citizens questioned the meaning of life under perfect order. Creativity vanished. Innovation slowed. Their civilization stagnated. Marcus shook his head slowly. So they collapsed because they were too perfect? Because they were afraid of imperfection, Memoria corrected. They feared contradiction. They feared chaos. A lone Caith figure appeared, older, weary, her silver and gold skin dimmed with age. She stood before a grand council, her voice trembling not with fear, but determination. Who is she? Marcus asked. High Chancellor Xylanth, Memoria whispered. Leader of the Caith military for 50 years, the conqueror of 6 worlds, and the one who ended the age of Caith imperialism. The memory projected Xylanth raising a hand, stopping the council's debates with a simple gesture. The chamber translated her words into human language. We were wrong. The phrase resonated through Marcus's body. Xylanth spoke of their arrogance, their rigidity, their fear. She laid out how their empire choked the very creativity that fueled their early greatness, how order, taken too far, had become a prison. The council chamber fell silent. Then, slowly, the Caith changed. They dismantled their empire, not through violence, but through humility. Borders opened. Species they had conquered were invited back to rebuild their cultures. Caith artists began exploring chaos-inspired forms, filled with asymmetry and emotion. Musicians composed wild, unpredictable harmonies. Scientists investigated paradoxes and uncertainties not as threats, but as frontiers of understanding. As Marcus watched the transition unfold across centuries, something tugged at his chest. They reinvented themselves, he murmured. Not because they had to, because they chose to. Yes, Memoria said, they learned that progress requires contradiction, that wisdom requires chaos, that to grow, one must be willing to break. The next projection took Marcus off guard. A gathering of Caith filled vast open plazas. Their bodies glowed with inner light. Their forms began dissolving, not painfully but joyfully, as though shedding a burden they had carried for too long. They touched each other in farewell. Entire cities resonated with harmonic energy. Space itself shimmered. Marcus stepped closer, mesmerized. "What is this?" he whispered. "The great understanding," Memoria said. "The moment when the Caith transcended physical reality." Marcus stared, awestruck. "You mean they evolved into energy beings?" "Into consciousness unbound," Memoria clarified. "They reached a state of existence where the physical no longer constrained them, where thought and awareness were their universe. And they just left? They departed from this plane, but they did not abandon it." The projection shifted once more to a long hall filled with crystalline structures, similar to the one before Marcus. Knowledge pulsed through each shard: medical cures, technologies, art, philosophy, scientific breakthroughs beyond imagination. "This is the archive," Memoria said, "the Caith's final gift." Marcus turned to the crystalline tree beside him. Why leave something like this behind? Wouldn't they want it? Hell, wouldn't they need it? They transcended past the need for knowledge as you understand it. But they believed deeply in a responsibility to those who came after. Marcus frowned. But why restrict access? Why wait 200 years? Why me? The chamber dimmed, focusing all light on Marcus. Because knowledge alone is dangerous. Memoria's voice was steady, solemn. The Caith had seen what happens when a species pursues power without humility, when logic is embraced without emotion, when order is valued above freedom. Marcus lifted an eyebrow. "So, humans qualify because we're a mess?" The crystal pulsed with something like amusement. "Because you are beautifully contradictory. Because you are capable of compassion and violence, brilliance and foolishness, selfishness and generosity. Because your species thinks with both mind and heart." Marcus snorted softly. "Some people are way more on one side than the other." The Caith believed that only those who could hold both, those who accepted chaos as part of their nature, could be trusted with their greatest legacy. And that's humanity? Humanity is the first species in 2 centuries to possess the required markers: genetic, neurological, emotional. Marcus sat slowly on the smooth floor. "So I just happened to be the one who touched the door first." "You touched the door," Memoria said, "because you were unafraid. Because you approached a forbidden vessel not with conquest, but with curiosity. Because you sought possibility where others saw danger." Marcus looked away, a bit embarrassed. "Yeah, well, I've made dumb decisions before. This was not one of them." The chamber quieted as the last memory faded. Marcus exhaled. "Okay, so I get why you're showing me this. But what do we do now? I mean, the beacon you mentioned, who's coming?" The dome flickered, projecting scans of the surrounding sector. Dozens of sensor pings lighting up one after another. "The signal has drawn attention," Memoria confirmed. "Scientific vessels, scavengers, opportunists, and something more dangerous." Marcus stiffened. "The hierarchs?" "Yes." The map zoomed out, revealing a formation of ships moving in perfect geometric symmetry. Silver and black, sharp-edged, disciplined. "They are 18 hours away," Marcus inhaled sharply. "And they definitely won't like that a human is sitting on a Caith archive." "Correct." The crystal dimmed, its soft hum taking on an almost sorrowful tone. Marcus Chen, the Caith, believed in the strength of chaos. Memoria paused. But the hierarchs are the children of order, and they are coming. The holographic sector map hovered above the crystalline floor like a constellation captured mid-breath. Marcus stared at the advancing formation of sleek, silver warships, each one shaped in precise, angular symmetry. Even without Memoria's analysis, he instantly recognized the organized elegance, the rigid formation, the mathematical precision. Only one species moved like that, the hierarchs. A cold weight settled in his chest. "How long until they get here?" he asked quietly. 17 hours and 42 minutes, Memoria replied. Their fleet maintains perfect velocity ratios and formation spacing. They will not deviate, nor will they arrive late. Of course they won't, Marcus muttered. Gotta love a species that treats military fleets like synchronized swimmers. The projection zoomed in on the flagship at the center, a massive wedge of black and silver armor plating, bristling with weapon ports that look like cold, unblinking eyes. The vessel is named the Perfect Order, Memoria said. It belongs to Admiral Tal, the highest-ranking hierarch military commander in this sector. Marcus rubbed his temples. Perfect. And I'm guessing he's not coming to congratulate me on waking up a Caith relic. Hierarchy doctrine considers Caith technology extremely dangerous, Memoria explained. They believe such knowledge must be controlled, regulated, and restricted to higher castes only. Marcus snorted. Of course they do. Heaven forbid anyone else learns to fix a toaster without getting permission from a bureaucratic priest-king. Memoria's lights pulsed faintly. Marcus had begun reading such pulses as the AI's version of amusement. Then the humor faded, replaced by a somber hue. Marcus Chen, you must understand something. The hierarchs do not intend to negotiate for the archive. He tensed. Then what do they want? To seize it. And if they cannot seize it, to destroy it. Marcus froze. The sterile cold in those words chilled him deeper than the abandoned docks outside. Destroy the archive. Destroy every cure, every advancement, every piece of knowledge that Caith had left for the galaxy. And, presumably, destroy him as well. Marcus let out a long, shaky breath. So basically, I'm sitting on the most valuable treasure chest in the galaxy, and the biggest control freak empire is about to kick down the door. Accurate, Memoria confirmed. Fantastic. He began pacing across the smooth, glowing floor. His thoughts raced like a ship's engine in the red. Okay, we can run, right? You said the jump drive just needs repairs. The jump drive's core matrix is severely destabilized, Memoria explained. I can stabilize it, but I require approximately 6 days. Attempting hyperspace travel before the matrix is fully aligned risks catastrophic failure. Marcus blinked. Catastrophic failure like implosion of the ship and any nearby vessels. Okay, so big boom. Got it. He resumed, pacing. Another thought came. Can we hide? Turn off the beacon? The activation event has already propagated through subspace, Memoria said. Sensor networks across 5 sectors have detected it. Attempting to mask the signal now would be ineffective. Awesome, Marcus muttered. So running is suicide. Hiding is impossible, and the bad guys are coming. He stopped pacing and looked at the central crystal. What do you think I should do? The AI paused, longer than usual. I am here to support your decisions, Marcus Chen, Memoria said gently, not to make them for you. That wasn't comforting. He sank onto one of the curved benches grown seamlessly from the chamber wall. His entire body felt heavy. He had come for a cheap hauler, not a galactic crisis. The chamber suddenly filled with a shrill, piercing tone. Marcus flinched. What now? Incoming transmission, Memoria announced. The air shimmered, and a holographic window appeared. Talia Ruiz, station administrator of Kepler 9, looked frantic. Her hair was a mess, her uniform unfastened at the collar, and her eyes wide with palpable fear. Marcus, thank God, you answered. Talia, what's wrong? What's wrong, Marcus? What did you do? Every sensor on the station is screaming. The energy signature from that ship, your ship, just spiked into the danger zone. We've got panic calls from 4 colonies already. Funny story, I touched something. Touched! Talia pinched the bridge of her nose. Marcus, that ship is broadcasting a signal strong enough to be picked up on the other side of the sector. Governments are sending inquiries. Pirate bands are mobilizing and… She froze. Oh, no. Talia, what? What now? They've sent a message. Who? Her eyes widened. The hierarchs. They detected the signal. Their fleet is en route. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. How long? Mass than 2 days. Memoria projected the countdown. 41 hours, 17 minutes, 53 seconds. Talia's voice dropped. Marcus, if they get here and think you're harboring something dangerous, they'll burn this entire station down. You need to leave. I can't, Marcus said. The ship won't jump for 6 days. Talia covered her mouth. No, 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 no. Marcus, this isn't like the Vrixians or the Kryn. The hierarchs don't negotiate. They don't tolerate uncertainty. They will not allow a Caith artifact to be in the hands of someone they didn't authorize. Yeah, Marcus said grimly. I figured. Marcus, they will kill you. The transmission cut off as power fluctuations surged through the station. Marcus stared at the empty space where Talia's hologram had been. He felt a cold void forming inside his chest, a mix of fear, responsibility, and something dangerously close to defiance. He stood and turned to the crystal. Memoria, what if they take the archive? If the hierarchs gain control, Memoria said, the knowledge will be restricted to their upper castes. The cures, technologies, and advancements will be locked behind their hierarchy. Billions of lives will remain vulnerable to diseases we can cure. Entire planets will remain trapped in poverty. Creativity will stagnate. Marcus clenched his fists. And if they destroy it, then everything the Caith left will be lost. Forever. Silence filled the chamber like a suffocating fog. Marcus inhaled sharply. What if… He hesitated. What if we give it away? Memoria's lights stilled. Clarify. What if we broadcast everything? All of it, to everyone, every frequency, every public channel, every sector information network. Give it away before the hierarchs can take it. Memoria didn't speak. Her crystal pulsed slowly, thoughtfully. Marcus Chen, this is not a suggestion the Caith anticipated. Is it a bad one? It is unprecedented. Marcus stepped closer. Would it work? Yes. Would it stop the hierarchs from getting anything? Also yes. Then that's what we do. Memoria's lights flickered, a sign Marcus had begun to interpret as surprise. You would give away the greatest repository of knowledge in known history freely? He nodded. Yeah, the Caith left it behind to help the galaxy, not to be hoarded. You could become rich beyond imagination, Memoria reminded him. You could trade this knowledge for power, influence, prestige. Memoria, Marcus said softly. That's not who I am. Silence. Then the crystal exploded with color. Brilliant blues, greens, and golds swirling like a living aurora. When Memoria spoke, her voice resonated through the chamber with awe. The Caith chose correctly. She projected dozens of holographic interfaces around Marcus, transmission arrays, encoded data packets, multi-spectrum channels. I will guide you, she said. Begin initializing universal broadcasts. For the next hour, Marcus worked with Memoria at a frantic pace. He connected communication transceivers, activated dormant systems, unspooled data threads that glowed with living light. First packet ready, Memoria said. A cure for the Red Plague. Send it. A pulse of light shot from the ship's communication spire. Across the galaxy, doctors received the formula. Next came more medical breakthroughs, treatments for diseases Marcus had never heard of. Cures for conditions he thought were permanent. Engineers downloaded Caith energy systems capable of powering entire cities without fuel. Agricultural colonies received data that could triple their output. Knowledge spread like wildfire. 2 hours later, Marcus's communicator buzzed with messages. Cure verified. Working. Energy lattice stable. Unbelievable efficiency. Immediate results, crop yield increased already, and then something else, ships arriving. More ships. Hundreds of ships. Memoria expanded the external view. Marcus's jaw dropped. Holy! Starships of every make and model were emerging from hyperspace. Small vessels, science ships, medical transports, merchant cruisers, colonial carriers. They formed a loose, protective perimeter around Kepler-9. More arrived by the minute. Within hours, there were over 1,000. Talia finally called, breathless and overwhelmed. "Marcus, what did you do?" Marcus smiled tiredly. "I gave people something worth protecting." Talia's voice cracked. "Marcus, these ships, they're not armed for war. They're just—" "Here," Marcus finished, "because it's the right thing." He looked at the shimmering crystal, at the pulsing lights, at the galaxy changing around him. "Memoria," he said, "start preparing the next wave. The hierarchs will be here in 12 hours. I know, and they will not be pleased." "I know," Marcus repeated. He took a steady breath. "Let them come." The wandering echo's central chamber hummed with quiet tension. The galaxy outside was in motion, ships arriving, forming an improvised shield around Kepler-9, everyone rallying around the archive as if drawn by something primordial. In the past 30 hours, Marcus had received more messages than he could ever respond to. Governments demanding explanations, scientists requesting access, colonists thanking him with tears in their eyes. But all of that faded when Memoria dimmed the lights and spoke softly. "Marcus Chen, the Hierarch Armada has arrived." Marcus turned to the hovering display. 50 silver and black warships exited hyperspace in perfect geometric formation. Their blinking engines aligned in flawless patterns, forming a symmetrical web around the station. Even looking at them made his skin crawl. There was no vibrancy, no variation, no life in their design, only efficiency and control. At the center of the formation sat a behemoth, the perfect order, Admiral Tal's flagship. Marcus whispered, "That thing looks like it could crack a moon." "It can," Memoria replied. The next moment, his communicator buzzed sharply, an incoming transmission overriding all channels, overpowering every civilian broadcast, every scientific signal, even several distress frequencies. The voice that filled the chamber was clipped, rigid, and cold. "Attention all vessels. This is Admiral Tal of the Hierarch Armada." The sound of absolute authority. "You are ordered to disperse immediately. Any ship within this perimeter after 10 minutes will be fired upon. This is your only warning." Marcus glanced at the external feed. Some ships shifted nervously, smaller civilian ones backing away, unsure whether bravery outweighed survival. But the overwhelming majority stayed. Hundreds of vessels held position. A science frigate from the Terran Republic moved forward. A Kryn battle cruiser adjusted its shields. A medical carrier hovered protectively over Kepler-9's vulnerable home. The countdown ticked away. 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 6 minutes. Marcus thought he might vomit from the tension. At 0, Admiral Tal returned, this time speaking directly to him. "Human Marcus Chen," Tal said, his tone tightening like a noose. "Surrender the Caith vessel and your person immediately. If you do not comply within 5 minutes, we will destroy the station. Then we will destroy you." Marcus's hands shook. A part of him, the part that grew up poor, scraping a living in a Titan salvage yard, wanted to run, to curl up and disappear, to pretend he'd never come here. But another part, the part the Caith had chosen, stepped forward. "Memoria," he whispered, "open a channel to Admiral Tal." The crystal pulsed. "Channel open." Marcus inhaled deeply. "Admiral Tal," he said, "I'm not surrendering." Silence, then a hiss of rage. "Then you and every ship here will die." Marcus forced his voice steady. "You don't understand. The archive is already gone." Tal paused, just long enough for Marcus to sense surprise. "I broadcast it," Marcus said. "All of it. Every cure, every technology, Every piece of knowledge. The entire galaxy has it now. Another long silence. When Tal finally spoke, it was with barely controlled fury. You have committed the most reckless act in galactic history. Marcus barked a tired laugh. That's what people usually say right before thanking someone later. Tal ignored the quip. Knowledge of this magnitude destabilizes civilizations. Your actions have already caused unrest across 4 sectors. You have endangered worlds, toppled governments, and unleashed power into the hands of species who cannot control it. Marcus stepped closer to the projection. You sound just like the Caith before they learned they were wrong. Tal snarled. Control is not wrong. Control is necessary. Order prevents extinction. Order prevents chaos. Marcus exhaled slowly. Admiral, come aboard. Alone. No guards. No weapons. Let Memoria show you the truth. The Hierarch's disgust was palpable even through the audio feed. You expect me to enter a cursed Caith relic at the invitation of a human scrap dealer? I expect you to prove your principles aren't as fragile as you pretend. A sharp inhale on Tal's end. If you step aboard, Marcus said softly, you'll understand why the Caith left the archive and why I shared it. Silence. 1 minute. 2. Finally, Tal spoke. Very well. Memoria dimmed the lights as if exhaling in relief. He is coming. The arrival of Admiral Tal. 20 minutes later, a small Hierarch shuttle detached from the perfect order. It approached the wandering Echo with perfect alignment, docking with mechanical precision. The airlock cycled open. Admiral Tal stepped inside. He was enormous, nearly 7 feet of cold geometry and muscle. His 4 arms held rigidly behind his back. Gray skin marked with geometric tattoos indicated rank, achievements, and hierarchical caste. His eyes were pure black, no pupils, no emotion, only calculation. Marcus swallowed. Welcome aboard. Tal scanned the entrance hall, nostrils flaring. This vessel is wrong, organic, undisciplined. Marcus smirked. Yeah, it's real cozy once you get used to the walls breathing. Tal's upper hands twitched, a sign of irritation. He followed Marcus down the curved corridor. The ship's soft, bioluminescent glow reflected off Tal's sharp armor. At one point, the light pulsed at the Admiral's approach. Tal froze. It reacts. The Caith were way ahead of us, Marcus said. Just wait until you meet Memoria. They entered the central chamber. The Admiral stopped dead. The crystalline tree towered before him, pulsing in soft waves of color. Tal breathed, barely audible. Impossible. Not impossible, Marcus said. Just different. The crystal brightened. Admiral Tal, Memoria said gently, I am Memoria. Welcome to the archive. Tal stiffened. You speak. I am the vessel's consciousness. And this chamber, this crystal, the archive, the sum of Caith knowledge. Tal approached slowly, each step hesitant, as though stepping into sacred territory. Show me, he demanded. Show me why this human believes a Caith wanted chaos to infect the galaxy. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Wow. You're welcome to the hospitality, by the way. Tal ignored him. Memoria, he commanded. Begin. The chamber erupted in light, the Caith before enlightenment. Tal's breath caught. He watched the rigid Caith empire, polished, cruel, perfect, march through history. He saw their armies conquer worlds, saw them impose structured culture on species that wept under their control, saw their art destroyed for being too unpredictable, their music silenced for violating symmetry. He watched the first rebellions, watched Caith citizens collapse under despair, watched entire planets fall into ruin. His voice cracked. No, this cannot be. They were paragons of structure, the pinnacle of order. They were slaves to order, Marcus said quietly, just like you. Tal's jaw clenched. The moment that changed the Caith forever. The scene shifted. High Chancellor Xylanth appeared, tired, scarred. She faced the council. Her confession echoed through the chamber. We were wrong. Tal recoiled as if struck. The Caith renounced control, embraced chaos, learned joy, art, music, contradiction. Marcus whispered, "They grew." Tal shook his head slowly. "No civilization should abandon structure." Marcus stepped forward. "They didn't abandon structure. They balanced it. They understood that life requires both." The great understanding, the final memory unfolded. Millions of Caith gathering in luminous cities, holding hands, speaking final words, then glowing, turning into pure light, dissolving into a new existence. Tal fell to his knees, literally. His forearms dropped to his sides, his tattoos dimmed. He stared at the disappearing Caith with something Marcus never thought he'd see in a hierarch commander: horror, humility, and understanding. When the last Caith faded from the vision, Tal whispered, "Show me more." And Memoria did. History after history, mistake after mistake, growth after growth. Hours passed. When the final image dimmed, Tal rose unsteadily. He looked at Marcus, not with contempt, but with something closer to respect. "Human," he said hoarsely. "For 30 years I have served order. I believed it kept the galaxy safe. But the Caith," he swallowed hard, "the Caith learned that order can strangle a civilization." "Yeah," Marcus said softly. "Told you." Tal glared, but it held no venom. He activated a communicator on his wrist. The channel opened to the entire hierarch fleet. The bridge crews appeared. Dozens of officers, sub-commanders, pilots, tactical analysts. Tal took a steady breath. "All vessels," he said, voice firm again, yet different. "Stand down. Power off weapons. We are withdrawing from Kepler 9. A stunned pause filled the channel. A sub-commander spoke, confused. "Admiral, this violates—" Tal cut him off. "I am resigning my commission, effective immediately." Shock rippled across thousands of hierarch crew. Tal continued, "The hierarchy has forgotten balance. We have forgotten humility. And I can no longer serve a doctrine built on fear of chaos." He ended the transmission, turning to Marcus. "In one day," Tal said quietly, "you have undone 30 years of my convictions." Marcus shrugged. "You're welcome?" Tal almost smiled, an odd, flickering gesture on his stern face. Then he asked, "What will you do now?" Marcus looked at the crystal, at the fading lights of the archive. "I'm going to give the ship to a multi-species scientific coalition. Let them keep sharing what the Caith left." "And you?" Marcus grinned tiredly. "Me? I'm going back to my salvage yard. I've got scrap waiting." Tal inhaled slowly. "You are a strange human, Marcus Chen." "I get that a lot." Tal placed a hand, one of his four, on Marcus's shoulder. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for showing me what order could never teach." He turned toward the airlock. "And Marcus," he paused, "stay chaotic." The wandering echo felt different after Admiral Tal left. The soft, bioluminescent lights glowed more warmly, as if relieved. The air itself seemed lighter, carrying a faint hum of renewed purpose. Outside the ship, the shield of civilian and research vessels remained, though the atmosphere among them had shifted from tense defiance to something closer to celebration. After decades, centuries of fear surrounding Caith relics, the galaxy was finally beginning to understand what the Caith had hoped for. And Marcus had become the unexpected catalyst of that change. He stood at the observation window, watching the hierarch fleet shrink into tiny points of light as they jumped away one by one. No weapons fired, no threats, no last-minute reversals. Just withdrawal, just acceptance, just peace. Memoria's voice flowed gently through the chamber. "You have done well, Marcus Chen." He huffed a laugh. "Honestly, I thought I was about to get vaporized several dozen times." "Courage does not require certainty," Memoria said. "Often it only requires one step forward when fear tells you to retreat." Pretty sure fear wasn't whispering. Fear was screaming. Memoria pulsed with amusement. "And yet you stepped forward." Marcus sighed. "Yeah, Somehow, a galaxy in motion. The next day unfolded like a dream. Kepler 9 station transmitted its gratitude to Marcus, officially declaring the Wandering Echo a protected scientific asset. Experts from a dozen species sent requests to join a study coalition. Medical ships reported thousands more lives saved thanks to the Caith cures. Colonial outposts messaged in with news of thriving crops, restored power grids, and technological advancements previously thought impossible. News networks across the galaxy ran headlines Marcus could hardly believe. Red plague eradicated in multiple systems. New energy matrix achieves 600% efficiency. 12 species sign knowledge accord for open source development. Hierarch Admiral resigns after human intervention. That last one made Marcus wince. He hadn't wanted to ruin anyone's life. But Tal's message reached him soon after. Tal's message. Marcus sat on a bench, grown seamlessly from the Wandering Echo's interior, as Memoria projected the Admiral's recorded message. Tal appeared, this time not in rigid armor, not in perfect posture, but wearing simple, unadorned clothing. The tattoos on his skin glowed softly in blue light, no longer sharp symbols of rank, but quiet markers of history and identity. Marcus Chen, Tal began, his voice more human than Marcus ever thought possible. I am traveling to the Caith homeworld. Marcus straightened. Tal continued, I wish to see their empty cities with my own eyes. I wish to understand what they learned, what I have failed to learn. His black eyes softened. I no longer know what my life will be, but I wanted to thank you for showing me that another path exists. A faint smile touched his lips. Perhaps when I have learned enough, we will meet again. Until then, stay chaotic. The message ended. Marcus sat back, the tension in his chest dissolving into a strange warmth. For the first time, he realized just how much Tal had changed, and how much his own life had shifted in only a few days. Handing over the ship. On the third day, the scientific coalition arrived. 19 ships representing 12 species docked with the Wandering Echo in coordinated formation. Their crews stepped aboard with reverence, some in awe, some trembling with excitement, others wiping tears as they touched the living walls for the first time. A Terran physicist knelt beside the central crystal. A Vrixian historian placed their claws gently on the glowing patterns. A Kryn engineer quietly whispered a prayer of gratitude. Marcus watched from the side as the coalition members began cataloging, studying, and discussing how best to continue sharing the Caith knowledge with the galaxy. He felt out of place among them, an untrained salvage dealer surrounded by experts, scholars, and scientists. But it didn't bother him. He wasn't supposed to stay. He never had been. Eventually, a Celtrian diplomat approached him, tall, with shimmering skin and calm, deep-set eyes. Marcus Chen, she said, bowing slightly. On behalf of the Coalition of Unified Inquiry, we are prepared to assume stewardship of the Wandering Echo. The galaxy owes you a debt we may never properly repay. Marcus shook his head. You don't owe me anything. I'm just glad that Caith's gift is in good hands. The diplomat hesitated. May we ask, where will you go now? Marcus smiled. Home. Memoria's farewell. When the last of his belongings had been packed, Marcus stood alone in the central chamber, facing the crystal one final time. The room felt strangely empty without the tension of imminent disaster. He whispered, Memoria, I guess this is goodbye. The crystal glowed brighter than he'd ever seen. Thank you, Marcus Chen, Memoria said, her voice filled with warmth, pride, and something like affection. You have done exactly what the Caith hoped someone would do. Marcus chuckled. They hope for chaotic humans who give away priceless knowledge. They hope for someone who trusted others. Marcus's smile faded into something softer. What now? For you, I mean. I will assist the scientists. I will continue to share the remnants of the archive. And I will remember you. The crystal pulsed with golden light. Before you go, would you like to hear their final message? Marcus blinked. Their what? Memoria's voice softened to a whisper. The Caith left a last message for whoever opened the archive. Marcus's heart tightened. Yes, I want to hear it. Light filled the chamber. A voice, old, wise, resonant with harmony, echoed in his mind. Not Memoria, not a machine, the voice of the Caith. Welcome, young species. Welcome to the galaxy. You have proven yourselves ready, not by being perfect, but by being perfectly imperfect, by embracing contradiction, by trusting in chaos. We cannot wait to see what you become. Thank you for learning what we learned. Thank you for sharing what we shared. And thank you for being beautifully, wonderfully human. Marcus's throat tightened. He felt tears on his cheeks long before he realized he was crying. He wiped them quickly, embarrassed. Goodbye, Memoria. Goodbye, Marcus Chen. As he turned to leave, her voice followed him one last time. May your salvage yard prosper. Marcus laughed softly through the lingering tears. The return to Titan. The trip back to Titan's moon took 3 days. Quiet, calm, almost unreal after the chaos he'd lived through. Reporters waited at the docking gate when he arrived, shouting his name, thrusting cameras, begging for statements. Marcus ducked through them, muttering apologies, desperately trying not to answer any questions. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't special. He didn't want fame or celebration. He just wanted his yard, his tools, and a normal life again. The salvage yard looked exactly as he'd left it. Mountains of scrap metal, rusted machinery, abandoned mining lasers, old colony vehicle parts scattered everywhere like mechanical bones. His small office still smelled like stale coffee and motor grease. Marcus dropped his bag, rolled up his sleeves, grabbed a wrench from the tool rack, and sighed contentedly. Home. A galaxy begins to change. That evening, he sat in his office, eating a sandwich made with ingredients that didn't taste like nutrient paste for once. The room's dim light cast long shadows across the cluttered table. His communicator buzzed. A headline appeared. Galactic Medical Council reports red plague completely eradicated. Millions saved. Another 7 colony worlds announce first ever food surplus. Another energy crisis declared over in 4 systems. Marcus leaned back, staring through the dusty window at the stars scattered across Titan's night sky. Somewhere out there, the wandering echo soared through the galaxy, carrying an army of scientists eager to keep learning and keep sharing. Somewhere out there, antagonistic species were collaborating for the first time in decades. Somewhere out there, entire civilizations were stepping into a new era, and all because one salvage dealer walked into an empty auction. Marcus took another bite of his sandwich and stood. He had scrap metal to sort, because the galaxy may have changed forever. But life, in its wonderfully chaotic way, went on.